What's going on, guys? My name is Rising, and welcome back to yet another episode of Gun Guide for Call of Duty Mobile. This is a series where we focus on in-depth breakdowns, tips, builds, and class setups for every single weapon in Call of Duty Mobile's multiplayer. And in today's episode, we'll be covering perhaps the biggest buff of Season 9, at least according to me, the CBR4 submachine gun. The base model ported from Modern Warfare 2019, the CBR4 is based on the P90 submachine gun manufactured by FN Herstal in Belgium. The CBR deals a base damage of 24 up close and dropping to 16 at longer ranges. This means it'll be a 5-shot kill in the first 2 damage ranges, up to a 7-shot kill in the minimum damage range. One of the biggest upsides of this weapon is that it features really impressive body part damage multipliers. Not only it has bonus damage multipliers all throughout the body after the recent buff, but also it is one of the only guns in its category not having negative multipliers to the legs. These two attributes make this gun extremely consistent at all ranges. With a 1.35 times multiplier to the head, you can reduce its shots to kill at all ranges by landing just a single headshot, thus making headshots extremely effective. But not only head, you can reduce the gun to a 4-shot kill in the maximum damage range by landing at least 1 upper torso or 2 lower torso or arm shots. You can also achieve a 4-shot kill in the second damage range by landing all of your shots anywhere but the legs. And since this is an SMG, it is always a good practice to aim high to maximize your potential. The rate of fire is high at 800 rounds per minute. This means your base 5-shot time to kill will be 300 milliseconds, which is not competitive at all. However, if you're hitting the upper body, which you should, you can achieve a 4-shot time to kill of 225 milliseconds, which is highly competitive. This means that if you have somewhat decent aim, you can easily reduce your shots to kill and enter the competitive regime with the CBR as long as you're not hitting the legs. But time to kill means nothing if we don't look at the range profile behind it, which also got a slight buff this season. With the recent buff, our base 5-shot and potential 4-shot range extends up to 20 meters, with the potential 5-shot range being up to 28 meters. This is a solid range profile for an SMG and can be further improved with attachments. We are not showing our potential 4-shot time to kill as part of this range profile, but if we keep the 225 millisecond time to kill in mind, we can see that it does have a competitive edge over other top-tier options in the game right now. In fact, it performs better than guns like the XM4 or the Type 19. However, it still falls behind faster killing guns like the HVK, Odin, or the USS-9, which is of no surprise. The ADS bullet spread is bad for an SMG, which should be heavily taken care while building it, since you will be using this gun in somewhat mid to long ranges. The hip-fire spread, however, is very solid, which helps in those point-blank encounters. The hit flinch is slightly worse than SMG standards, although the bullet impact is average. But what about the recoil? Well, the gun does have a very simple pattern, going up towards the right. The kicks between shots are also considerably low, which means you can control it very easily, and once you get the hang of it, you can beam enemies with the gun with very less effort. However, you must remember that the gun doesn't have the best ADS spread, which you'll definitely notice if you challenge longer range encounters. So as long as you use the gun within its effective range, you'll be perfectly fine. Now coming to its handling, aim down sight is very fast at 200 milliseconds, while the sprint to fire time is below average at 180 milliseconds. The mobility stats are more or less average for an SMG, nothing too extraordinary in this department. However, one of the biggest traits of the CBR is its magazine capacity, which is 50 rounds with 200 in reserve. However, to compensate for this, we have a slower reload time at 1.5 seconds, with an empty reload time at 1.58 seconds. But it is worth sacrificing its reload speed by having a large magazine capacity, when you don't have to reload at all. And for its last base stat, we have the material penetration, which in this case is a significant one to note. The CBR is the only SMG in the game which has AR levels of material penetration. This means that it can penetrate through medium covers unlike other SMGs. And with FMJ, you can improve the penetration values significantly, although I won't recommend using that and suggest using something else that has an actual impact on the weapon's performance. And with that, we've covered all the base stats of the CBR4. And since this gun doesn't feature any unique attachment, let us now see how to build this weapon. There is not really too many ways of building the CBR, so I'm offering only one build here, although you can tweak a few attachments based on whatever you like. We start with the tactical suppressor for concealment and the OWC marksman barrel for range, bullet spread, and recoil control. I'm not using the monolithic suppressor simply because the range increment is very insignificant and it harms our bullet spread, which was already a major drawback on this weapon. If the weapon gets some kind of bullet spread buff in the near future, then you may swap out the tac suppressor for mono. And there's absolutely no point in improving your range if you can't hit your shots. We have YKM light stock for improved strafing and sprint to fire time, and both granulated tapes to improve our aim down sight spread. As you can see, this build doesn't have too many downsides, and on the upsides, we have significantly improved our bullet spread as well as our ranges. With this build, our potential 4-shot range is now up to 25 meters, and the potential 5-shot range is up to 35 meters. Now, this is a very competitive range profile, on par with many of the top-tier guns. And just for your clarification, for those who want to use the monolithic suppressor, it increases our potential 4-shot range by just 2 meters and our potential 5-shot range by less than 3 meters. Here's the overview of all of the stat changes for this build. Although we improved our bullet spread, it is still very bad, so better stick your gunfights within the 35-meter mark. Our mobility values are slightly reduced, but it is always worth trading out mobility for improved accuracy, because you should always remember that what makes a gun good is its lethality, not the mobility. I've seen many players claiming guns with good mobility to be top tier, which is sadly not the case. I might make a dedicated video explaining the 4 cornerstones of a weapon which determines its overall performance, so if you're interested in it, let me know in the comments down below. As for an example class setup, for respawns, we have a melee as our secondary to run around the map instead of having a pistol, since this gun doesn't have any problem with mag size whatsoever. We're using the perk greed, red, as our wild card, allowing us to carry 2 red perks, where we have Flak Jacket and Dauntless. And for the other 2 perks, we have Quick Fix and Hardline. For the lethal equipment, we have a Molotov cocktail, and for the tactical, we have a trophy system. Operator skills and score streaks can be chosen as preference. For Search and Destroy, once again, we're using a knife as our secondary. We have a frag grenade as the lethal equipment and stim shot as the tactical. We're also using Restock as our additional red perk so that we can cycle through our throwables. And with that is going to wrap it up on the gun guide for the newly buffed CBR4. As for my thoughts on the buff, this is clearly the winner of all of the adjustments that were done in this season. This buff made the CBR from being an underwhelming gun to a great upper tier option. Although there are better weapons, it doesn't mean that the CBR is utterly unusable. If you really want to try an off-meta option, then this gun should be in your top picks. With low recoil, good damage range profile, decent handling, and a large magazine capacity, the only drawback of this weapon is its below average bullet spread, which is still not an issue if you use it within its effective range. Overall, there's not really any particular drawback of this gun, and there's no reason to not like this weapon at all. In fact, this might be my new favorite SMG now. But is it meta-worthy? Definitely not. There are a few other better options, which you already know, but for an off-meta pick, this might be one of the first ones to come to my mind. So if you haven't given the CBR a go, I'd highly suggest you to. But of course, those are just my thoughts on the newly buffed CBR4. Now I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think of this weapon? Do you think that the buff actually made this weapon pretty viable, or you still feel it to be somewhat weak and want some more adjustments to it? Just let your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll be covering the buffed weapons of this season first before moving to something else. So if you have anything in mind, let me know which one you want me to cover next. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like on this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.